Hey everybody, it's Natalie McKenzie of The Whole Woman, and it's Friday and Quaran-Tea time. Today's guest is none other than Dr. Maiquel Carrasco, board certified OBGYN, co-owner of VCare OBGYN, and degreed by the SUNY Downstate Medical Center, renowned surgeon at Lenox Hill Hospital, and he is known as the master of minimally invasive surgery. Make some noise, throw up some hearts, invite a friend, and grab your martini. Help me welcome Dr. Carrasco.
Hi, how are you? Good evening. How are you doing?
Hello, Dr. C. How are you doing?
Very well. Thank you for inviting me to your show.
Oh, thank you for joining us, Dr. C. You have been practicing for quite some time. I had the pleasure of meeting you and being a patient. And so we are so delighted that you decided to join us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. C. And you're on the East Side in Manhattan. Very lovely offices. I've had the pleasure of being there. Tell us a little bit about your practice.
The practice is located on 328 East 75th Street. Is a co-owner with my wife. My wife is my partner. We have been in Manhattan for approximately 14 years. We take care of most of the obstetrical and gynecological problems of females. It's a very spacious office where everybody always has a smile, and we'll try to just take care of the patients like family. That's the idea.
Wow. Well, you do a pretty good job of that, Dr. C. What is it about your practice that sets you apart from everybody else?
The idea is that behind VCare is that we do care about the patients, not just as a gynecological service, but also as an entire human. When the patient comes into my office, I don't look at the patient just as a gynecology patient. I look at the patient as being part of my family, and how can I make this patient's life and future be better, so we can grow up together and have some good times throughout life.
And how long have you been practicing?
Approximately 30 years, but I'm only 18.
That's what I thought. 30 years, Dr. C.
30 years.
So you've delivered quite a few babies, and I know you do quite a bit of teaching. Tell us about your transition into private practice and how you've gotten to where you are 30 years later. Wow.
Well, it's a long time. It goes back all the way from Long Island. After I finished medical school at Downstate University in Brooklyn, I went to Nassau County Medical Center. Beautiful hospital. It's a county hospital. I loved it because he gave me the opportunity to learn how to interact with people. Not to say that private practice wasn't that bad, but I wanted to see and meet and learn from every person, every patient that I was able to interact with. I graduated from there back in 1993. I decided to stay over there, and I became an attending over there. Just a regular OBGYN attending. 4 or 5 years later on went by, and I became a family planning director, in which I was able to take care of a lot of teenagers, preterm, a lot of teen pregnancies, family planning decisions, and everything else. And after like approximately 6 years of being the family planning director, they made me actually the gynecology director, and I spent almost 5 years doing gynecology. They are doing the teaching with the residents and other doctors, and basically just enjoying what I love to do, take care of family.
Mm. And so, Dr. C, what made you decide, or when did you decide to be a physician? How did you end up in this profession?
All right. Long story again. I will tell you, I am from Dominican Republic. Have a little Spanish background, a heavy one, heavy accent. Never would deny it. I was approximately 6 years old when my grandfather actually got appendicitis. He was approximately 60. Third world country, Dominican Republic, the city was on the dark. It was very hard. We went to approximately 6 hospitals before we found one that actually had emergency electrical power to perform the surgery. And I can tell you, I spent the entire night just saying, how can I help people? I wake up that morning, my mother asked me, what is going through your mind? Your grandfather is okay, he survived the surgery. And at that time, I decided that I think I should pursue the career of becoming a doctor, helping people. Originally, pediatrics was what attracted me the most. But long and short, pediatrics took a little toll in my life, and OBGYN became the best. I get to take care of females, I get to deliver babies, and I get to give the baby to the pediatrician and go back to bed.
Now, how long have you lived in the U.S., Dr. C?
I came to this country in 1981 to a beautiful place in Long Island, Bayshore, Brentwood. Graduated from there. I went to sunny Stony Brook, and then I went to downstate Brooklyn. My choice. I was accepted to a couple of medical school, but I wanted, again, first and foremost, I wanted to deal with people. I wanted to be there in the battlefield, learn from them, interact with them, and see how I can make their life better.
In your practice, and you know, one can't help but notice that our lives have dramatically changed in the last 6 weeks. In your practice, how are you coping with treating your pregnant patients during this COVID-19 period? And are you getting any of your patients that are pregnant that are also COVID positive?
Well, first, let's start with COVID, which is a very strange situation in America, pandemic all over the world. It's very stressful, and one of the things that you have to realize is universal. I do have patients that have COVID symptoms. Those patients are told to refrain from coming to the office. If there's any emergencies, the hospital, Lenox Hill, which is where I'm affiliated with, is taking care of some COVID patients at the hospital. All of the deliveries are being done in an outside center hospital called MIF, which is different from Lenox Hill. So that way we can prevent any interactions between the patients. In my office, we practice safe medicine as much as we can. We wear a mask, we wear shields, we provide the social distance in the office. We try to encourage the patient to only come to the office if it's necessary for their prenatal care or their gynecological care. If there's anything that can be postponed, if they live with somebody in their house that can be a high incidence of catching COVID, we'll try to postpone their visit. We do some telemedicines, which is what we're doing lately, to be able to provide care, medications, renewal of birth control or whatever medications they need, and information how to deal with the situation that we're going through right now.
Mm-hmm. I see. And are any of your pregnant patients COVID positive? And is that a question I can ask without violating HIPAA? Okay.
Is 100% acceptable? Luckily enough, the answer is no.
Thank God. Very good. And the audience that we're primarily speaking to today, most of us are beyond having babies. So maybe we want to talk about the other side of your practice, where you're treating your patients that are over 40, approaching perimenopause, or menopause, or they're postmenopausal. What is your strategy? What's your approach to treating women as we are crossing that threshold?
All right. First and foremost, you have to listen to the patients. Every patient is different, which is the most wonderful thing about my profession. It's not just a cookie cutter syndrome like an orthopedics. You broke a bone, let's put it together, 3 screws, and do some exercise, and hopefully it heals. Every woman is different, and you have to take that into account. And menopause is different on every woman. Yes, there are certain side effects like hot flashes, vaginal dryness, dyspareunia that will be common on everybody. But it's something that the first thing is you listen to the patients, you look at their eyes and say, why are you here today? You do whatever necessary tests to double check that everything is okay with the patients. You want to make sure you rule out anything that as we get older can become more common, like breast cancer, endometrial cancer, ovarian cancer, everything that can affect the patients, you want to get out of it. And then we deal with the basic strategy of how to manage menopause, perimenopause, sexual activity after certain age. All of those things I will discuss with the patient face-to-face. I encourage to bring the family, the husband, so we can answer, so we can discuss everything, how we're going to take care of you in a natural way, in a non-hormonal way if possible. And then we discuss if hormones are necessary, and we'll add it slowly to see how we can do for the shortest amount of time to provide the best care for the patient.
I see. And the procedures that you do, I see you've been labeled the master of minimally invasive surgery, and I have had the pleasure of being your patient. I am a current patient, and I've had the pleasure of you performing minimally invasive procedure on me after being very challenged as to what's going on, getting an answer, and having my care not properly provided by my former OBGYN, which that's a story I'll tell later, when to fire your doctor when they're not listening. But I remember when Dr. Harris, whom we had on earlier on our show, coordinated and designed what was best for me and decided that you were the best person to see me next. Let's talk a little bit about your minimally invasive procedures.
Again, I've been doing this profession for 30 years, and one important thing, I do not have an ego. I learn from everybody. So every day I wake up with the idea, today I'm going to be better than yesterday. Luckily enough, I was blessed with good hands, and I do have two of them. I was blessed, I'm a clown too. I was blessed with good hands, and I was giving these hands to help people. One of the things that I noticed early in my life was that at the time that I was becoming a doctor, there was just one surgery for females. Two surgeries. Cesarean sections, you have your babies, and then after your babies, that's it. You don't need a uterus, let's take out the uterus, which is the wrong idea. A lot of doctors still practice that. And when I see a patient coming into the office, a lot of times with fibroids, heavy bleedings, and they say, well, the only choice that the doctor gave me was cesarean sections. Not cesarean sections, sorry, hysterectomy, removal of the uterus. And I talk to the patients, I get some diagnostic studies, I get some MRI, and lo and behold, I look at the patient and says, no, you can keep your uterus, you can save the uterus, you can even have a baby after we do the procedure that we're going to do. It doesn't have to mean hysterectomy 100% all the time. And it's the wrong idea that some doctors are having in their minds, and the way that they were trained, that just because you reach a certain age, 40, 45, the uterus is an unnecessary organ and should be removed. So a lot of patients, like yourself, Natalie, when you come to my office, I hear your problems, I review the chart, I ask you a few questions, I might do a few tests so I can be 100% sure that when I look into your eyes, I say, okay, if you are my family, you're my sister now, let's see what I will do for my sister. I will offer you, usually beginning, medical treatment. And that's one of the important things. Even though I'm a master of minimal invasive surgery, and I'm a great surgeon too, I always offer medical treatment first, try to go to the natural stuff, medication. I offer different medications, hormonal injections, or everything else before I look at the patient in the eyes and say, okay, at this point, I believe minimally invasive surgery would be right for you, or we have other choices of different surgeries. And I try to work out with the patients. Bottom line is patient's health. Treat them like family. Don't say, okay, this is the next $10,000 hysterectomies I'm going to do this week. No. What would I do if you were my sister? How would I take care of you in such a way that in my heart, I did the best thing? So in the nighttime when I'm sleeping, I say, check, it was done correctly.
Got it. Now, while we're quarantined, Doc, and most of us are not accustomed to spending this much time with our spouses.
I spend 24/7 with my wife. My wife, Dr. Laro, is my partner in the house and in the office. And as soon as I know who the boss is, she's my boss, we have a great relationship.
And then there are the rest of us who, yes. I spend quite a bit of time with my husband too, I must admit. We spend probably, maybe about 18 hours a day together. We spend a lot of time together. But for those couples who are not used to being together, and now they have an opportunity to spend a lot of time together and maybe an opportunity to explore each other, what are some of the things that, because we might be older and we weren't accustomed to being as active as we're now being with our significant others, what are some of the things that we need to think about?
Again, COVID-19 is a very stressful time. It's the first time that we've been through this. It's the first time that we are forced into social distancing from humans. Humans, we like to gather. I'm so happy that I guess right now with social media we can do this. I can do telemedicine. I can see a patient. I can discuss the patient's depression and everything else, and take care and look at the patient in the eyes, make a joke or something to try to bring her back up. But one of the things that COVID-19 is that now you are together with your partner 24/7, and you have to learn to love your partner. You have to believe in the power of prayer. You have to believe in the power of God. You have to socialize through tele with your church friends, you other connections and everything else. You have to give your partner sometimes a little bit of space during the daytime so they can also socialize and breathe through this situation. But when you come to your partner, this is the time that actually you get to learn what is the good things, how you can discuss emotions and everything else and bring them to the surface that will make you actually stronger in the future. This is just a test, which is beautiful. Life is a beautiful test of being together with each other.
Okay, well, this is good to know. We get to practice this. And for women that are, as we've gotten older, intercourse is not necessarily something we're always enjoying, or we're not as frequently participating in intercourse. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some of the things that we can do to stay, I guess, lubricated or to make intercourse more enjoyable?
Correct. One of the, again, aging process is very natural for any woman after the age of 40, 45, to start having problem with intercourse, to start having problem with lubrication. When a patient comes to my office with that concern, the first thing is you have to rule out any other medical reasons why they might be having problem with that situation. You have to make sure that they don't suffer from any thyroid diseases, that they are not taking any medications for something else like blood pressure or diabetes that has a side effect of dryness of the vagina. Now, once you discuss this with the patient and you rule out all the necessary things, it's also always good to have the partner's ear to understand that as we get older, white hairs, I mean, as we get older, different things are going to happen to our bodies that, hey, it's normal. Okay. Now, the question is, as soon as you have a partner that you can discuss this, we can go through the entire life. We're not talking about just the 40, 50, 60s. I have couples that are reaching their well into the 80s, and we discuss sexual activity, arousal, we discuss pleasure, and that's the key point. Vaginal dryness, very common. I always recommend some type of vaginal lubricant before intercourse because intercourse is something that is very personal to everybody. If it hurts, your brain will say, this hurts, it will not turn on. I always make the relationship because I cook in my house, and if I get burned, the next day I'm telling my wife I'm gonna order pizza. That's what I'm gonna do. So with sex, if it hurts, the partner is not gonna enjoy the next time. And yes, we're in a marriage, we're in a relationship, and we have to provide for each other. And sometimes we have sex even though it feels uncomfortable. So I like to talk to the married partner and tell him what happens with life, with the aging process. I always tell the partner, listen, a vaginal lubricant is the best thing there is. Talk to your partner, see how she feels, make sure that she's enjoying. Now, let's get the partner outside. Sometimes I just talk to the patient by themselves and I explain to her that this is a normal process. There's nothing wrong with you. Do discuss it with your partner because as a guy, sometimes we feel hurt when my wife says, oh, I don't want to have sex with you tonight. Why? Is there something going on? So there's always have to be a three-way communications. Your partner, me, so that way we can understand how to make it better. Lubricants. Sometimes I prescribe my patients to please go to Amazon, get yourself a small vibrator so that way the vagina rejuvenates through the massage of the vibrator. That doesn't mean you're cheating on your husband or you're committing a crime against religion, but it's something to keep yourself younger, happier with your partner for the rest of your life.
And I like that. Rejuvenation without any procedure.
Oh, 100%. Yes.
Awesome. Now, Dr. C, how important is it? I'm asking this because I know you and I talk quite a bit about nutrition. What is your take on food, nutrition, exercise, and how important those things are with maintaining a healthy lifestyle and balanced life?
If you want to be younger, you have to eat good. That's the bottom line to nutrition, bringing back to vaginal dryness and all of the other problems. To a guy, not being able to get an erection is one of the first signs of bad nutrition. I know guys will say, oh my gosh, it's because I'm getting old or it's because I have. No. The first thing that happens is the more meat, the more fat, all of the blood vessels to the penis and the vagina will get clogged. And therefore, there will be lack of lubrication, lack of an erection. So one of the studies that was done, beautiful research, there's a few movies that people can see, is the people who are vegetarian tend to enjoy life the longest. The people who are vegetarian tend to live and enjoy sexual life in their 70s and 80s because there is less hormones, there's less toxins in their body accumulated, there's less arteriosclerosis in the blood vessels. They are more physically better. So again, nutrition is something that in the last 10 years, I'm becoming a master in nutrition because I'm trying to pass this knowledge to my daughter who's 12 years old so she can, and by the way, all of the patients that come to my office, even though it's a gynecology office, I will spend a good 5 minutes teaching my patients. A lot of gynecological problems, hormonal imbalance, polycystic ovarian syndromes, is a genetic syndrome that nutrition makes it worse. So sometimes I will spend 5 minutes doing GYN and another 5 minutes telling the patients, it's your homework assignment. Go to Netflix. These movies are for free. Look at, Fork Over Knife. Look at there's a new one called Game Changers. Look at the movie. Watch it with your husband and your kids because you get one person to listen to you. You will get more people and more people into better nutrition, better living. And hey, someday maybe not even medications to take care of problems like cancers and things like that. Very important.
Wow. Well, thanks, Doctor. That's quite interesting and very informative. Tell us about practicing with your wife. We know Dr. LaRue, and she's quite dynamic. What do you say about practicing in such an intimate space and such an intimate profession?
It's the most beautiful thing in the world. That's the only description. I love my wife. Again, we've been married for 21 years, but we've been together, if you add the other 4, probably like 25 years. Is again, I love to be able to talk to her. We share information, we discuss cases. She checks my work, I check her work. It's always a little game of playing, like, okay, you're doing this way. Why? Why are you doing this way? It's always a back and forth situation, but always with a lot of love, a lot of understanding. As long as you know that she's the boss, everything is perfectly fine. And I listen to her and I give my opinions and she gives her opinions and we come to an agreement. But the most important thing of working with my wife is that we follow the same philosophy. And this is something that she learned from me, which is treat your patients like family and you will always be happy. So on occasions when there's a patient's information, I say, okay, what would you do if it was your sister? Ta-da, do it that way. Your mother, do it that way, and you will always be in the best plan of way. And we learn to work with each other in that way, which is every patient is family, take care of them the right way.
Well, Dr. C, one of the things I can say is being your patient, I can attest to the fact that that is truly your approach. And you do absolutely include the spouse in all your conversations. As a matter of fact, I was tickled by your exchanges with my husband, Obi. So you're located in Manhattan. You're on the east side on 75th Street. You're open for telemedicine currently. You're still delivering babies and you're treating us, as you said earlier, from delivery all the way through menopause. And you make it a holistic approach, all things that we appreciate. Tell me about your teaching, because I know you spend a lot of time teaching other medical teaching medical students.
Yes. Again, 30 years in the profession. It's funny. Even the first year when I was a resident, I was in charge of medical student teaching. And it's funny how life comes around and helps each other. Karma. If you're nice to people, life will be nice to you. My parents are alive. They're hiding somewhere in Long Island away from this virus, and they see my face on FaceTime. And it's funny because my mother was having some medical problems, and I went to see her, busy schedule. So I went to see her on a Saturday morning, like 8 o'clock in the morning in the hospital, Southside, Long Island. And sure enough, as I'm sitting next to my mother, somebody walks in and goes, "Dr. Carrasco, is that you?" And I look at the person, I go, "Yes." And she goes, "Oh my God, my name is Dr. Leon. I was your medical student as a first year."
Oh.
And I go, "Cool." And my father, who was in the room, goes, "Were you nice to him?" And I looked at my father, I goes, "Dad, I'm always nice to everybody because you never know when the other hands is going to do this." Well, needless to say, Dr. De Leon is taking care of my father, my mother, my brother, my cousins. Everybody goes to him. He calls me. We now work for the same hospital, Northwell system. So we have a good relationship. But that's the thing about life. You never know who's going to be there for you at the end. So I have medical students who are medical doctors, oncologists, surgeons, and we have this relationship. The teaching is what I do. I love to teach, and it's important. You cannot just be egotistical and hold all the knowledge like this. Share it. Teach people. Bible. Teach a man how to give a man a fish one day. Teach a man how to fish for the rest of their life. And that's what I do with the doctors. And that's the reason why I've been nominated a few times as greatest teacher of the year by residents and everything else, because the idea is, let me show you what to do and what not to do. So that way you can take care of my family. And if I feel comfortable with you, when you graduate, I will send you my family, my patients, and you will do it the right way.
Well, Doc, I happen to know that you were also a great student because I got to you by way of Dr. Marcia Harris, and you told the story when you saw her name that she was
an inspiration to me. She was one of the reasons why I became an OBGYN. As a downstate medical student, we went to the hospital where she was working, and she took me under her wing. And listen, I got honors in her class because she opened up my eyes. OBGYN is a living. It's not just a profession. It's the person that you have to take care of. And I appreciate that from her. And it was my pleasure how I met you. And I go, "Harris, that sounds so familiar. Sandra Harris, I know her very well." So that's the idea. And this is how one hand washes the other. We all come around.
awesome. Well, Dr. Carrasco, I thank you so very much for spending time with us today. We know there is so much more for us to talk about. When we did our pre-show, we hit a subject matter, and I know we're going to have to make time just for us. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about sex after 45. Let's talk about sex in general in healthy relationships. So I'm going to hold you to that one in this public forum, that we can do that at a later date.
Natalie, it will be my pleasure to discuss anything that you want gynecologically, from preteen, my daughter's 12, all the way to 95. And let me just tell you one quick joke before we finish. I have a beautiful patient, 88 years old. I introduced myself. I said, "I'm going to take care of you for the next 20 years. And her answer made me laugh. This is why I love my business. "And after the 20 years, who's going to take care of me?" Beautiful. Beautiful.
Just so, always so pleasant, always so kind and conscientious. Dr. Maiquel Carrasco at V-Care OBGYN. What is with the V-Care, Dr. C? Tell me about that.
V-Care has a simple meaning. It's my daughter's name, Vanessa. Vanessa, we care OBGYN.
Got it. Got it there. Thank you so much for joining us. Yes, Dr. Carrasco. Again, Dr. C is on 75th East 75th Street in New York City. He does telemedicine and his business is open. He and Dr. Olaru have a beautiful practice, beautiful office, and great staff. Thank you so much for joining us. And we will talk at a later date. Let's talk about sex will be our topic. And look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for joining us.
Totally my pleasure. Anytime.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. C. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Natalie McKenzie, the whole woman, and I wish you enough life to live, enough joy to share, enough love to give. I wish you enough. See you on Monday.
Be safe.
Stay COVID free.
That's it.